Now the tide is turning, hear the sound. It's our home, it's our fight. We stand as one, we'll make it right. We face the flood, the fire, the strain. Independence rise, we'll break their chain. Monaro strong, we won't be swayed. Truth and justice never fade.
Councillor Andrew Thaler, I appreciate you giving me your time on this issue.
Oh, mate, we're so busy with this election.
So what strikes you as particularly heinous about Kylie's situation?
Well, the simple fact, we met in the council and the executive basically said there's only one remaining claim. And there were 3 families actually sitting in the crowd. I think it might have been the February meeting. Might have been March. I think it was February. Man, March was Bombala. So February meeting, there were 3 families sitting in the crowd, of which Kylie was there with her boys. And there was a reluctance to even just acknowledge that simple fact.
I just want to confirm what you said, that council has always stated that there's only been one outstanding claim.
Yeah, well, there was obviously more than one claim when we settled Michael Chotar, because Sonia Woolley's claim has been there for a long time. That one's now quite a large claim because nothing's been done. And to say there was only one, but then try to secretly settle Michael Chotar underneath it, it was my job to call it out in the chamber. And if anyone remembers, they all got a bit pissy with me. I said, I can mention Michael's name. He's a mate of mine. And he's given me permission to mention that he has now had his final part of his claim settled, so many, many years later. We didn't reveal the amount of his claim, but we were allowed to say his name and that he was settled.
Why do you think council is trying to underplay this by saying that there's only one outstanding claim?
The big risk, to be brutally honest, is that the council doesn't have insurance, that they actually have to pay these claims out from ratepayers' funds. There is no insurance. That's what it appears.
Let me fact check you on that, Andrew, because I believe that the independents attempted to pass a motion to investigate whether insurance was sufficient.
Correct.
And that was voted down by the gang.
Correct.
But doesn't that run counter to your narrative? Shouldn't they have passed that investigation then?
Well, if they believed in accountability or transparency or wanting to reassure the council and the community that they were acting in the best interest of the community, it was a no-brainer to say, let's ensure that we have adequacy of insurance. Now, there's 2 factors here. Do we have adequacy of insurance now? And did we have adequate insurance then? And that's the whole point of investigating, to learn we had a mistake, we had a stuff up. What can we learn from it to prevent it happening again? And we don't want to learn.
Surely an investigation has taken place to establish what the facts of this incident are?
Nope, there's no investigation. We've asked, we've pushed, we've gippered for any information of any investigation. No government department has had an investigation. Not one. Not WorkSafe, not Fire Brigade, not police, nobody.
That sounds incredible. This is the worst man-made environmental disaster in our region, and there's been no investigation?
Correct.
How can that possibly be?
Because they don't want one.
Why wouldn't they want one?
Well, investigations quite often come up with people responsible. It has to obviously start with the chief executive officer or the general manager. They are the top of the tree, so they have to wear liability. And when you look at the structure of the Local Government Act, personal liability does attach. So if you're the person in charge, that you make a decision outside of law, you can then be held personally accountable.
Who was the general manager at the time?
Peter Bascom.
And where is he now?
He's buggered off out west somewhere.
And does the mayor come into this in any way?
Of course they do. That was John Rooney. Peter Beer was the mayor at the time, sorry.
And what role does he play in this?
Well, they become involved in the emergency management aspect. So there's a range of legislation that crosses over. So you have the Local Government Act 1993, Local Government General Regulation 2021, and then you have other emergency management, Rural Fire Service, or the Rural Fires Act. You'll have the Rural Fires General Regulation. There's a range of legislations that all kind of come together in an emergency. And then it depends on what type of emergency. This was a declared emergency. I think from memory it was declared on the 2nd of January. And initially it was declared at like a level 4 out of 5. Or was it? No, 5 out of 6. Might have been 5 out of 6. And on, I think, the 3rd of January, the day before, I think the level was downgraded 2 levels back to maybe level 3 out of 6. So the relative urgency of our Cooma area was thought to be less urgent, so it was downgraded.
What you seem to be suggesting is that there's been a cover-up.
I'm not going to suggest it. I'm going to tell you straight, it is a cover-up. See, this impacted John Barilaro. He was the Deputy Premier at the time, but he also then Minister for Regional something or other. He had 3 portfolios that all 3 straddled this situation, and it would touch him in each of those scenarios.
So then why would they not want to settle these claims? Why haven't they paid out Sonia Woolley? Why haven't they paid out Kylie Keenan? If they wanted to keep this issue quiet, why not just pay out all these victims who have waited years for remediation?
I think they were able to pay a lot of them out early. And so in that first year, maybe first 2 years, before people started to really dial into this, it was a lot easier to just to pay people out of council funds. But we've been asking questions and we've been starting to join all the dots together. We've had this go to the Premier's Department. We've had this go to the Governor. We've had this to the Attorneys General. And the questions come back without answers. But then someone slips up and they give us an answer. And then we go back to where the answer should have come from in the first place. And we say, are you sure there's no information to provide? Oh, yes, nurse, yes, we've looked, there's no information. Well, does it look anything like this by any chance? Or where'd you get that? And that's how you play the game. Then they get nervous and the information starts coming out. And then they hand you over something and they give you an extra bit. Then you go back to the other one and go, is there any more information to provide? Does it look anything like this?
Well, in regards to information, is there any merit to the claim that certain individuals close to certain councillors and mayors got paid more than others?
So that's a speculation that I have, and that's coming from information out of the community that some people who did live in the street, who were close to the right people in this town, because that's how this town works, unfortunately, is that they did get payments and payouts and restitution. There's this claim of a significant payout for landscaping.
Are we talking about just hundreds of dollars?
At a zero, we're talking 100,000 plus.
So that sounds too incredible to believe that we have 5-year outstanding claims like Sonia Woolley, who's got 0, and Kylie Keenan, who's got 0. And there's been some people on that street that have been paid in the region of $100,000 for landscaping. And
several houses were completely rebuilt. Just drive up there. There's brand new houses there.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah, well, some of the brand new houses, one of them did have a truck roll into it after it was damaged by the flood. So I can well imagine there wasn't much choice in that. But Kylie's fences were buggered. They're still buggered. There's not much choice in that either. Did Kylie break or bend her own fences? Well, the answer is no. What did damage her fences? The flood. Does Kylie have evidence of the flood? She was one of the few houses that had security cameras and recorded the flood. I think it was Kylie's cameras that recorded the truck rolling backwards down the street that smashed into a house. So you've got a victim, and I say that kindly. I mean, it's unfortunate. You can't choose where you live when shit like this happens, but you are a victim of circumstance, and she has evidence and she has loss.
Let me just play devil's advocate for a moment. It's just the claim that somebody has been through this traumatic event 5 years ago and not been paid a cent or recognized by council. How can that possibly be?
There's a couple of factors. You're not friends with the right people. Unfortunately, this town runs on nepotism and favours. So Kylie is probably friends with the wrong people. And more lately, if she's been seen to be a friend of Andrew, then they don't want to know about her. And that's what we're going to overturn. It's actually quite evident when you watch council meetings. If there's something that Andrew puts up, very hard to get support around the table. It doesn't matter how good it is. Take the mobile library truck, for example. Everyone wants it back, can't have it. Why? Well, because Andrew's talking about it, so we can't have it. So Kylie's claim is pretty simple, though. Just, she sent the emails, they reckon they never got them. That's exactly what they said to Sonia Woolley. So it doesn't make sense. When you probe a little bit deeper, we then found evidence that the insurer's nominee or their loss adjuster, mob called Sedgwicks, they did have a copy of Sonia's claim. And then they tried to say, oh, well, it was archived, it was COVID, blah, blah, blah. These excuses don't matter anymore. Kylie exists. We've got evidence. She has the evidence. We just need to settle her claim, and that's what we're now going to take into the general manager.
Now, just to be a bit cheeky, did you place the asbestos on her property, Andrew Thaler?
Yeah, I've got a time machine as well. I can go back in time.
What would justice look like for you in this case?
Justice would start with victims being settled out. At the end of the day, the ratepayers have a council, and they did the wrong thing. And it's too late to play the blame game now. It's just, we've caused injury to people and we fix it.
And what would that look like for Kylie? Would that just be the replacement of certain tools, or would that include the complete remediation of her property?
As I've chatted to Kylie, she would like her tools replaced, and I think that's fair. She would like her fences fixed or replaced, whichever makes sense, and I think that's reasonable. She's at the bottom of the hill, so there's quite a good number of houses above her. So she copped the water after it had gone through many of the other houses. And so if there was any asbestos under the other houses, it's highly likely landed in her place as well. So it needs to be checked, and that'll give her peace of mind. It's really about putting someone whole again. You can't make the nightmares go away. You can't make the relived moment go away. You can't make the feeling of opening the door in the dark and thinking, oh, fuck, what's out there? You can't take that away from people. You have to ask them to live with that, and her boys, as they grow up and they grow out of the nightmares that they might have had. You know, you go back 5 years, they were pretty young. So we're asking a lot of Kylie. Can you please live with what happened? Can you forgive us for what happened? That's how it works. And what can we do for her? We can replace her tools. We can put a fence in for her. We can check her yards and say they're safe. And if they're not, we make them safe. And that was the point that we raised in the council meeting. Check, prove, certificate.
And did the council approve to do that?
No, of course not.
Would there be anything else you'd like to add?
The problem needs to be addressed. We can't let this linger and hang in the air. It's unfair to everybody. It's something that we need to move on from. And I know the Deputy Mayor this is a woman that loves the sound of her own voice, but the problem is she is forgetting her job is to the people, on behalf of the people. Don't say that, oh, we just want to move on. Everybody wants to move on, and some haven't been allowed to. So a rising tide lifts all ships. And in this regard, whilst the Deputy Mayor's friends and the Mayor's friends might well have been compensated, my friends haven't. And how did they become my friends? Because I've tried to advocate for their interests.
Well, thank you, Councillor Thaler, for advocating for the community. Really appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
While ever I'm still in that council, I will keep working for the people. And even if they kick me out, I'll still keep working for the people.
Much appreciated.
It's our fight. We stand as one. We'll make it right. We face the flood, the fire, the strain. Independence rise. We'll break their chain. Among our own strong, we won't be swayed. Truth and justice as one, we'll make it right. We face the flood, the fire, the strain. Independence rise, we'll break their chain. Monaro strong, we won't be swayed. Truth and justice never fade. Monaro strong, we'll light the way. The time for change, it starts today.